Right. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Azul video. Um, Yesterday was actually 1 year anniversary of the channel. Um, and I was hoping to record then, but uh, wasn't able to make it work. So here we are 1 day late, but this is the official anniversary episode. Um, yeah, just gonna play some games, but did want to talk about my recent play a bit because it has been frustrating. Um, so, at some point I was hanging around 800 pretty consistently, and then did the NHOS review videos and started trying to implement new things and tanked. Um, Climbed back up maybe to like 780 or something and dropped again and came back up and then Zeus released his 1,000 ELO video. Congrats to Zeus on reaching 1,000 ELO. And in this video, he talks about aggressive play, um, which is kind of similar to how NHOS plays, like being very aggressive with putting tiles into the center as opposed to taking from the center and creating large groups. Um, and so, again, trying to implement some of those strategies, I tanked, came back a bit, and then tanked again. So I have been going through a journey of learning, and I think one of the things with trying to implement new strategies is sometimes you get a little too focused on them and lose sight of kind of the bigger picture of the game. Um, so basically, like the round would start, and the first thing I would be looking for is like where can I play aggressive, and same thing on on every turn. So trying to rein that in and be a little more smart about it. But I think I'm still kind of trying to do too much um, and trying to process too much. So, um, and I'll link to this video in the description so that if you haven't watched it, you can go watch it. But yeah, so we'll play some games today, and I'm gonna be trying to keep an eye on like aggressive options, but I'm gonna try to balance it with kind of my normal play and other priorities. So, like one thing that had been happening to me was I would create a big group. Let's say my opponent needs row 2 yellow. I'd create a group of like 5 yellow, but then they just play yellow on row 5 and start a second column threat. And so it wasn't really like working out the way I had hoped. I kind of realized, maybe aggressive play works best when your opponent has already committed to something, like they have an unfinished row, or they're blocked up elsewhere. So yeah, trying to put it all together and uh, play smart. And just doing arena for this video, given that I've been kind of struggling and I'm trying to figure some new things out. I don't necessarily want to jump into like high stress expert games. Obviously, if we get a high level player, then that's great. But yeah, I'll just be doing arena tonight. Okay, so our opponent starts with 2 yellow on row 3. I kind of like the look of playing 2 yellow on row 2 to try to get them to take the last yellow, and then I can scoop up 3 blacks for row 5. And if they don't take the yellow, I can take it on row 1 and prevent their row 3. Other options could be just like jumping straight into maybe like row 4 black or row 5 black. But let's secure this row 2 yellow and go from there. And so, okay, our opponent hasn't obviously committed to the 4th column, but just generally, when I see my opponent building the 4th column, I'm always thinking about how I can take blues away because blue ends up being such a critical color. So let's take 2 blue for row 3. And it's really hard for them to defend this because it creates a group of 5 black. Yeah, so they choose not to. But now I'm kind of faced with the awkward situation of, if I take the blue, I create the group of 6 black. So I think I'm just going to take the black here. And I'll exit the round either with the row 3 blue or the row 5 black. Although now this is actually kind of an interesting choice. I think I will take the whites for row 4 instead of finishing the black. This gives me an opportunity to finish row 4 before row 5 and get more points scored on row 5. And I get a more centralized row 1. It would have been either the red or the black instead of the white. Okay, so this draw is pretty good. We have good options for white, options for black. There's only 2 blue, which is fine. The thing that could get tricky is actually my row 2. And for that reason, I might just start out with row 2 red. But let's think about it a bit. I guess another option is I can go for the whites immediately and potentially end up with row 2 white also and prevent their row 4 progress. And this red probably isn't in much danger. Okay, so let's start with row 4 white, and I want to put a yellow in the middle because I do want to try to group these yellows up since that's my opponent's best row 2 option. Okay, and we're gonna get that opportunity. So let's take the 2 red now and group these yellows. So this is the exact situation where I should be taking more time and thinking this through a bit further. So I'll try to slow down. But this is the type of play that I'm trying to find more of. Okay, so my opponent takes 1 black, so I'm quote in danger of not finishing my row 5 black, but don't know that I mind. I am going to take some negatives here, either white or yellow, but let's grab the blue. Let's see, so if my opponent takes black, I can take 2 white. They just take the white. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to take the black and I'll be taking some negatives on my row 1 potentially if they were to take this blue. I should note that the other reason that grouping the yellows was effective or could be effective was because their other adjacent row 2 was black, which was in conflict with their row 5. Okay, so we'll take the blue so we don't end up taking any negatives. And this is kind of the situation I mentioned earlier in the video where I denied my opponent this row 2 yellow, but they picked up row 4 yellow. So I need to be very mindful of additional column threats. But okay, so we're up by 7. And yeah, so my opponent has kind of multiple avenues. They can build the center or the rightmost column. I have a lot of flexibility in this round. I have row 2 blue and black open. I could play white or yellow on row 3. I think what I want to do is identify white as kind of the key color here, and work towards row 3 white, which is strong. Okay. And then I'm happy to take these blues from the center, I think. I could take from the factory, but I think grouping reds is actually maybe not advantageous because they could work towards row 3 red. But I definitely want blue because blue is kind of the other color that they're most interested in. I'm going to take the 2 blue here. And one thing worth noting is there's only 6 black left. And so I can't ignore black for much longer. And you know, maybe this row 2 blue is a mistake. Maybe this should have gone on row 4. But I'll try to get the row 1 black out of this round. And I think with that in mind, I won't group anything here. We'll just okay. So I can group these blues. By taking blacks, this does leave me with the 3 reds, but I think I'm okay playing those red. And what might end up happening here, depending on how this goes. Yeah, so I'm going to take the 2 black, and I may end up giving up row 2 black in favor of row 4 black and building out this second column. Okay, so again, like white is a focal point. Now, grabbing 2 white for row 2 maybe isn't great just because it gives my opponent the opportunity to group up the 4 reds, and I would like to get 2 of them. Probably avoid that. I think I'll take 2 reds. And putting 1 white in the center should hopefully result in 2 white becoming available. Only 1 white left, so we definitely want to grab these. And we'll get the first player tile to go along with it. Okay, so now I want to get blacks in the center. I think I want to avoid grouping these reds up, though I can play them too, so I want my opponent to group them up for me. We'll just take the 1 white and see what our opponent does. Okay, so we can trade off the black for the reds. That seems good. The only problem is then we'll end up with some negatives, but we can just play row 3 yellow, so it's not that bad. So I'm just happy to make this trade. And my opponent will probably grab the 3 white after I take the yellows. And that's going to end up potentially being a trap for them because there's only 1 white left, so I could just throw it away. Okay, so they don't do that, but now they really have basically no hope of building a column, so that's fine for us. So up by 7 and up by 2 columns. Hilarious draw. Let's take the 1 yellow, and unfortunately it's going to cost us a lot to finish row 3 yellow, but yeah, and from here there's not too much. Like, let's just get row 2 black. If we want to be really precise, maybe we want to take from this factory to group the last remaining single reds together, so that this costs our opponent more. And we don't have to worry about anything negatives wise. We can play reds on row 4, play yellows. So this is just bringing the game home. Yeah, I'm not going to bother doing math. This is worth 6 minus 4, so net gain of 2, and keeps blue and red open. Could have played them on row 5, net gain of 0, but okay. GG. That game I think went fairly well. Some aggressive play, probably some missed opportunities, but the other thing that like Enhas and Zeus also do is not take the first player tile very much. And that is something that I really have not been able to make work for me. There are just situations where I really like to be in control of the round. But other top players like Phosphate, for example, actually have quite a high rate of taking the first player tile. So, there's multiple ways to play the game. Okay, so our opponent jumping right into row 5 yellow. Obviously, we're not going to stop it, but let's take the 3 black. Let's play on row 4. I'm actually going to go for the here. Take 2 yellow. Okay. Now a question of whether to play 2 red on row 5 or to complete my row 4. I think I want to complete my row 4. So maybe not the best start. There was no way we were going to stop this. I get a lot of black. Be able to complete 3. Okay, so let's make them pay for it. Let's take the 1 white and group these 4 black together. And we should be able to pick up row 2 blue. Other than that, things are kind of tricky, right? We have 1 tile available to build on row 5, so we'll probably end up starting to build row 4 white as well. And actually, let's play better than this. Let's take our time, right? So let's take from a factory because our opponent wants row 1 yellow. So as unlikely as it may be, maybe we can group up some yellows. But I also want row 1. So this is what's been happening to me lately. I just feel like I'm trying to balance way too many things and I'm not able to like keep track of everything. Okay, let's finish out the blue. Throwing away a white, very interesting. Okay, so we're gonna give them the blue, but we're gonna take. Probably best to take red first. I think it's unlikely they would play the white. I would assume they would just throw away the yellow. And if they play the white, then we'll just throw away the yellow. So I think this is kind of like in a round where you can't really stop your opponent from doing too much. This is what you can hope for, right? That even if they build well, they take significantly more negatives than you do. So they're going to be -6 and I'm going to be -0. And I am going to play these whites. They should be like really great point scoring either next round or the round after. And there's 12 of them left, so. So normally like when your opponent builds on the edge, you want to pay close attention to being able to stop their adjacency since they can only build in one direction. I think unfortunately in this round, there was enough yellow and enough blue and it was all dispersed. Like there were 3 individual yellow tiles and 4 individual blue tiles. So it was pretty hard to stop that because there wasn't a good way to create groups of those colors. Not sure why my opponent is sitting on this one. Okay, so we're actually up by 1. Okay, so yeah, they decide, let's not do row 3 white. Let's try to build this column. What do we want to do here? This is a tough board for us. I have kind of conflicts between row 2 and row 4 and row 2 and row 5. So that's not good. I can try to grab row 3 blue as some kind of consolation prize and the first player tile. And I do like having the first player tile here just because I really need to be able to control reds. Especially because it's a real possibility that my opponent takes the 3 reds here. And I think like maybe the right play for me is to just take 3 reds. With 10 left, and I assume I can get 1 this round. I need 6 of the remaining 10, but I have control of them, so I feel hopeful. Another question is, can I stop my opponent from getting this yellow? Kind of an interesting thought to just take a yellow. I don't need to grab anything else right away. So I think just taking and throwing away a yellow is not bad here. Oh, I wonder if that's a misclick. That does not look good. Okay, so we're going to take the 1 red. We are allowing the blues to get grouped, but keeping our opponents stuck on row 2 and potentially more than just that. So yeah, I'll take the blacks here for my row 2. And I'm going to end up with a good number of negatives. But so is my opponent, I guess. So neither of us are going to, I'm actually going to outscore them quite a bit because they're scoring just these single points. Red and white both only worth 1, and they went -8. Okay, so we're up by 9 now. Okay, so I can't play yellow. I have to be careful for that. There's still 6 red, which is not bad. And my opponent can play 2, really. I'd like to try to get row 2 white and row 4 white. Might be kind of tough. I want to finish this blue. That should be able to happen. There's 4 white left. Okay, let's take... Kind of tricky. Let's take the red for row 5. And maybe I'll pass on a row 2 this round, depending on how it plays out. I can also just pass on completing this row 4 white for now. Because there's only 4 white left, and I need 3 in my upper rows. Yeah, I really can't leave this round without at least 2 white, probably. I would like to also get the first player tile if possible. Putting the blue and white in the center is, not the best options for my opponent, so that was another benefit of starting with these reds. It's, if I wanted to play it, I mean, it's kind of hard to say that it would have been safer to play the reds on row 2, because then, I eliminate the possibility of getting white this round, which means that next round I need 2 of the 4, and possibly 3 of the 4 or 4 of the 4. So it would have been a little tough, maybe. Okay, so they start on this row 3 blue, and I'm okay with whites getting grouped. Since I want them on row 2. So I think let's actually just take, I want the blue just to guarantee it, but if everything goes grouped, is that good for me? Okay, let's take the black row 1. This prevents them from finishing row 5 black. And if they take blue, yeah, so now I can take blue. And if they want to prevent me, they'll group the whites up. But an alternative path is to take a red and force them to take the last red. However, then I might get stuck with these yellows. So I need to circumvent getting stuck with these yellows. So let's play it more slowly and finish row 4 white. I recognize that this puts my row 2 white in jeopardy. There's 1 less white. But I really can't afford to get stuck with these yellows, so I'm going to try to create a situation to guarantee that I don't, and this is that situation. Okay, perfect. So the question is, what do I want to take here? So normally I would want to secure these whites for all the reasons we stated previously. There's only 4 of them left. But my opponent can't play white, whereas they can play blue, though they're unlikely to play anything on row 4 because I have to play the yellows there. But nevertheless, I'm going to start with the blue. And the other thing this does is that it makes my row 4 white worth a lot more. And so I'm not really giving up much by potentially missing out on row 2 white. Yeah, so we'll take the 1 black. And we're in good shape here, right? Our opponent's second column isn't really going to come together. There's only 3 black left, and they need all 3 of them, so I just have to take 1 at some point. Also up by 19. So we probably don't have to belabor this much. The only threat is the second column, and we already talked about neutralizing that. So let's keep it, and they just concede. Go again. Hopefully, even though the opponents aren't high level, um, we're getting, oh, this is a very high level opponent. Okay, well, this will be good. Okay. Not a draw that I love. Um, but let's go for the second column. We'll start with white. I'm kind of like happy to give them some yellow activity as long as I can prevent significant column progress. And so my plan was if they take yellows to grab the 2 blue, so at most they get 1 for their row 4. If they choose to switch the column they're working on, there's not really any white available after this play. And I should be able to get a good amount of either red or black. Yeah, so we'll take the red. This forces them to take the 2 yellow. And I'll just go for the black. That's the only thing they can play really other than the row 1 options. Pretty interesting draw. Okay. Obviously, I'm not making any progress on row 4. I have some row 5 potential. And the nice thing about taking 2 red is that it gets rid of one of their adjacency options, and their other adjacency option is in conflict with the row 3 that they want. That's pretty nice. It does give them 3 whites, but I think I could just take 1 white after that. And I'll have a row 2 yellow option. So, okay, let's try this. The other option would be like just go for row 3 blue, pick up a yellow, and leave my reds for later. The problem with the blues is that it's going to inherently group up the yellows, which means my only, I might be in trouble on row 2. Okay, so let's just finish out the red. If they don't take the whites, we'll definitely take them on row 2, but not really seeing a situation where they don't take the whites. Row 2. Okay, fascinating. That does change things. And again, the problem is that I can't, like if I take a blue, these 2 blues on row 3, and then they take 1 blue, my yellows get grouped, but I don't have to finish this. So I can take the 2 blue. They take 1 blue. I take 2 yellows. Oh, but okay. So if I take 2 blue, they take 1. I take 2 yellow. And they stick me with the 4 yellows, I'm not sure, and I have to act more quickly than this. We're definitely going to take the 2 blue, but let's play it on row 1. So this just blocks their row 3. And it leaves us open to row 3 yellow and row 2 yellow. I'm going to have to play quickly. I have no idea if this is someone who would, kick me on time. So I would hope not. I think most high-level players are pretty honorable, especially in high-level games. Okay, so let's get our row 2. And then we can grab and play this blue for future point scoring. Not the best round. I'm sure there were alternatives there that could have gone better for me, but we are up by 4. And I think we have a pretty clear plan in this round. We definitely want to make progress on black, and we definitely want to stop this from happening. So this will be our row 2. Somewhat lucky for us, there's a lot of red remaining, so we can feel somewhat confident in being able to pick up row 2 red next round. We're also relatively safe here. So we can play yellows if they get grouped. We obviously want blacks to get grouped. So let's think about what we want to do here. I don't want to group 2 reds and just give my opponent the row 2 that easily, though maybe it doesn't matter. And actually, them getting red is not bad because it means they have fewer places to play it later, and I want red. I think it's beneficial for me to put a blue in the center to potentially let those get grouped. I could also just take one right now. I think I want to avoid having the blacks get grouped, so I'm just going to take a red for my row 1, get this out of the way. Because I'm pretty flexible everywhere else. So let's just see what my opponent does. The nice thing is all of these blues share a factory with a black. So taking any blue groups up blacks for me, which is great. So let's see if we want to do this. I think so. And I have my eye on my opponent not being able to play on row 2. They can guarantee it, actually. And the other thing for me to be careful about is actually a full color yellow threat. There's 4 yellow left. My opponent has the first player tile. So if they were to get a lot of these yellows, they would only need a couple more. So it might be actually beneficial for me to take those yellows. Yeah, this is going to look weird. But I think I'm actually just going to take these. My opponent should probably take 1 black here. And guarantee themselves row 2. They could also take 1 yellow, but why give me the black? Okay, so now they're getting tricky uh, in a way that I'm not sure is good, because if they don't create both the blue and red piles, yeah, okay. I mean, we're just going to deny the row 2. They'll deny our row 4. And I think these yellows are not as important to us as the white is to them. So we're going to take the white. Crazy round. Hopefully I played that well. I think going with an approach of patience was decent there. Yeah, and you can see where taking that white at the end was helpful. There's only 2 whites. This blue might be a problem, though. We might get a lot of negatives. Do I take the 1 white? Do I take the 1 white? Maybe not. So if I were to take, like, at least maybe not yet. I basically just want to fill out everything here. Does clearing out the white help them that much? They can't play anything on row 4 next round. 8 black. No, they'll be blocked up on black. Okay, let's take the white. I'm not super confident that that's correct. I may end up with a lot of negatives, but we'll see. Okay, so I definitely don't want to take anything from these factories that allow the reds to get grouped. I need to maintain that flexibility. Similarly, these blues. Okay, I think I want to take a blue first. It's very unlikely my opponent takes. Oh, they can try to build this rightmost column. That's problematic. Okay, we want this 4 color in the center situation so that we don't get stuck with these reds. Kind of a curious play for my opponent. They are now having to overpay for this row 3 red. Okay, so taking a black, yeah, we're gonna end up taking some negatives here. They'll take the yellows here. So then the question of what do we want to do? There's 3 red left. So if they get these blues, it is feasible that they could build this. But playing the reds here is worth some points. Yeah, let's take the blues. It's fewer negatives for us. It eliminates the threat of this second column. And even though they can score, 5 with this, it actually costs them 5 because they have so many negatives already. So it's a net 0. And yeah, they actually choose to do the correct thing, which is a net 2 here. Cool. So we're up by 10, and we shouldn't have any problems filling out these blacks because there were 8 of them. And I don't think there's any crazy threats coming from our opponent. So we'll just play simply. And so here in round 5, like, you can look at what your opponent needs, try to make them pay for it. I have so many options for row 2 black. I can take a single black for my row 1, and now they might have to pay for their row 2 red. We should be careful here, just in that taking the 2 black here gives them row 3 white. We have to follow that up by taking the red away. They'll be scoring on 3 rows. I'll be scoring on 2 with a 10-point lead. That should be fine. But I have to stay sharp here. Okay, so they take the reds. Now we can just take the whites. We are not in any danger because we can play these blacks for points on row 3. So I think it would have been more interesting for them to take the white there. Take something we can play. Yeah, that is. Okay, that went well. I think actually playing the 3 yellow on row 5 was like sneaky good. The having them be able to get that other threat would have been possibly too much. Okay, let's do one more. That was stressful. Okay. Looks like a good column 2 draw. Just start with 2 white. Okay, so they're contesting on red right away. And I definitely don't want to fall really far behind. Okay, so let's take it. If they grab 2 blue here, hopefully we have an opportunity either for white or yellow for row 2. I don't think I can safely take 2 black and get both my row 3 and a row 2. So we will just complete row 3. And let's make progress on row 4. Is this safe? So one way to check if something like this is safe for your row 2 is just see how many colors are shared by the center and the factory. And since there are 3 colors, there's no way for him to block our row 2. Like, no matter what he takes, I'll be able to create 2 sets of 2 2 whites, 2 yellows, 2 reds, or 2 blacks. Yeah, so for example, the remaining 2 are black and white, so we can take either yellow or red. Take red, and now we're guaranteed a row 2 and a row 1. They should throw that away. It's kind of interesting though, like there are 5 whites, maybe you can assume there's not going to be that many whites this round. But oh man, they're like really paying the price. This is like the worst nightmare. It's because now they need. I mean, they'll be able to get row 2 white, but maybe not without significant cost. Okay, I think let's grab the black from the center. Because I want to control white next round. Though I won't have anywhere to play it anyway, right? Like, I'm not going to clear either of these 2, most likely. I can't clear row 5. I probably won't clear row 4. I guess there's a chance I clear row 5, so let's do it. And here's actually what's going to happen. So now I can create a lot of tension with white and blue. So I can pick up my row 2 blue, and if my opponent finishes their blue, then I can group all the whites together and their row 2 white. Or I mean, it doesn't even. They can play row 2 yellow instead, but nevertheless, they're going to take all these negatives, which isn't going to matter much because they don't have very many points anyway. Ooh, can't do that. Need to do this differently. So this should be white on row 1, and then we'll either pick up row 3 yellow or a red tile here. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to be competing for row 2 yellow. I have a nice shot at row 3 blue. It's kind of awkward for them to defend. And we'd like to take away their row 3 white. But let's start just by finishing row 5. There's only 6 reds left, and we still need our both upper rows, so we can't really dilly-dally on that. And trying to decide if this is worth defending white. The answer is probably no. But actually, I mean, there's only 4 left. Okay. Yeah, let's take a white. again, something like this is only possible because I'm fairly flexible elsewhere. Should be able to pick up one of these row 2s. I only need one black to finish my row 4. Plenty of row 1 options. And there's a chance I can even get row 3 blue, so. Okay. So there's also row 3 black, though my opponent can play that as well. One black doesn't work well because I can potentially get screwed on row 1. I'm gonna take 2 red actually. Just there's only 6 left and there's 13 yellows, so although yellow is better for my current round adjacency, I just don't want to get stuck eating 3 reds with only 6 left, even though I do have the first player tile, so maybe that was a bit hasty. But now I can take this safely, group the blues that I want together, and I'll either get 1 red on row 1 or 2 black. And my opponent just really has no good plays at this point. No matter what, I'm getting a solid row 3 and they have to put something on row 5. Side for black. Here's all those yellows. Oh, it's my turn. Take a white again, right? Two options for row 2 yellow, row 2 black if we don't get that. Blue and black's all over the place for row 1. This is, I mean, like the benefit of having a super clean board is that you can make plays like this without having to sacrifice anything. Very little danger that I can get into here. Yeah, so this will just be, bringing this game home, and there's not going to be too much to think or worry about. And the remaining tiles are pretty even. We could even take 4 yellow if we want. Why not? We can potentially get a full color yellow. So have some fun trying for that. I'll let them get 2 red here, but let's group these blues together. Good play. Yeah, we'll just take the reds from them. Um, we'll overpay for these yellows, but that's fine. Wow, it's like absolutely brutal luck. um, I think, I mean, we would just let them have it, I think. Let's try to get all the yellows grouped up, see if we can get the color bonus. But we'll start by ending the game. Probably the correct thing to do is to take the whites, but I've been brutally taking whites from this opponent the whole game, so feels extra cruel to not even give them a shot here. I don't want to group the yellows right away because I feel like that'll be not sneaky. Let's finish a red and group some blacks. I basically want to try to get my opponent to group the yellows for me. So for example, like if they take one red on row 2 and I take one, they take the last one, I get the yellows grouped up for me. And even though we're applying this in a like kind of ridiculous way, that's a good like skill to be aware of. Okay, so similarly, like, well, we might not get it, but we'll go with a black, and if they defend this black, then I'll get the yellows. And if they take the red, then we'll just take the black. And oh, they had nowhere to play the red. They played row 2 black. Forgot about that. They follow through with this, we'll of course just play black. Either way, we'll just black. And I'll play the yellows now. So we didn't quite achieve our goal. I could have played the yellows instead of the black and made them choose whether I got the black or the yellows, but you know, it doesn't actually matter, just having fun. So okay, that was a nice session. Uh, yeah, that'll be the end of the video. 4 games, a little bit over an hour. So yep, thanks again for watching.